Let's talk about top states where C corporations save the most money. So if you have a C corporation right now, or you're planning on having one, it really helps to really have to know exactly where you should really domicile your corporation. It's really important to understand that incorporating a business is really a smart way to reduce individual liability by creating a separate business entity, right? Because you want to really preserve your personal assets from legal liability. There are three types of incorporations. So you have S corporation, you have C corporation, and you have LLC. And the thing is, we have covered either option in other videos in the past. But in today's conversation, I want to talk about the top states where C corporations save the most money. The thing is that each of these options, I'm talking here about S corporation, C corporation, or LLC, has its pros and cons. So once you have decided on the structure that most benefits your organization, you still have to decide where to incorporate your business. And so whether you're considering incorporating in your own state or looking at your options for other states, there are a number of factors that are going to determine whether you have a smooth or bumpy ride. And the thing is, people always talk about, well, you want to save taxes. Well, it's way more than taxes. Okay, you got to think about the regulatory compliance. You got to think about the amount of time it takes to really comply in general. You got to also think about your personal situation. So the best states to incorporate is determined by the formation fees, the annual filing fees, the taxes, and also the legal structure. Okay, so I'll go through each one of these so you have a clear idea which one is right for you. And I also pay attention to which states rank high for each category and which ones bring up the rear. So it's really important to understand that the best states for formation fees tend to have fees that range from $40 to $50. So 40 to 50 bucks, okay? And the best states for annual filing fees tend to either not require yearly filings or not charge a fee for yearly filings. And the states we chose in today's conversation actually are the one that are great when it comes to corporate taxes, but also when it comes to sales tax, and other related taxes. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Let's talk about the best states for formation fees first. So if you think about formation fees, best states here are Arkansas, Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, New Mexico, and Tennessee. Okay, now here are the worst states for formation fees: Connecticut, Texas, Massachusetts. The thing is that when we talk about formation costs, those are the costs associated with incorporating a business. So these are the one-time fees you pay to the states when you apply to incorporate your business there. And filing fees vary by state, and you can find the most current requirements on each state's Secretary of State website because they actually modify those fees for inflation. Okay, so keep in mind that these are in addition to any fees your lawyer or facilitator may charge to prepare and file your paperwork, right? So, for instance, if you went through let's say Inc. business, or you went through another one like it can be an online formation service, or your lawyer, you're gonna have to pay them in addition to the fees. Okay, and so how much the formation fees factor in your decision to incorporate in a state depends on how much the startup costs matter to you. If you're counting every penny during startup, the formation fee may be a very big deal, but it's only a one-time fee, so the long-term effects on your bottom line are minimal. In most cases, formation fees are less of a factor than filing fees, okay? And so when we talk about basically formation fees, you are looking at a large sort of delta here. So those fees can range from $40 to $455 for LLCs and corporations. And the states chosen for the low formation fees are ones with LLC or corporation fees of $40 to $50. So the ones with the highest fees are Connecticut at $250 for corporations, Texas $300 for corporations and LLCs, and Massachusetts at $275 for corporations and $500 for LLCs. So those are really, but those prices are as of the date of this show. So if you hear this show or this conversation, let's say 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 years from now, maybe at that point, prices would have changed. Also, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about the top states where C corporations save the most money on expenses. Let me talk to you about the best states for annual filing fees. So first of all, let's talk about the best states. So you have Alabama, you have Ohio, South Carolina, and Texas. What about the worst states for annual filing fees? You have Nevada, the DC, so this District of Columbia, and you have Maryland. So when we talk about filing fees, what are we talking about? The formation fees are just the beginning of cost required to incorporate your business. Each year, you will have to file a one-page report with the filing fee, which will vary depending on the states. And in some states, it's actually required every 2 years and is therefore called a biennial report. So this report is to actually help keep the states informed about any changes in your business, including the principal address, authorized signatories, and the number of stocks issued by the business. So this is kind of important to really, for state authorities, it's important to really keep track of that kind of info. Currently, the only states that do not require regular filings or fees are South Carolina, not including S corporations, Alabama, Ohio, and Texas. So over the course of the life of your business, you can save a lot in terms of money and time from not having this yearly obligation. Think about it. If your business is going to be in existence for 100 years, you are going to pay this amount every single year. Okay. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, the District of Columbia and Maryland have the highest fees at $300 for corporations and LLCs, while Nevada charges $350 for corporation filings. So it's one of those things again. But remember, here we are speaking about something recurring. So when you have the formation fee is a one-time fee, but an annual filing fee, as the name implies, is a recurring thing. It's a recurrent exercise that you have to basically practice every single year. You have to send the paperwork to state authorities, and you have to actually also add the filing fee. So if that matters to you, this is important for you to pay attention to that part of things. Let's talk about the best states for corporate taxes. So if you have a company, if you have a C corporation, you're gonna have to pay taxes, right? So what are the best states for corporate taxes? You have Nevada, North Carolina, Texas, and Ohio. What about the worst states for corporate taxes? You have Alaska, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. So taxes are a huge factor in determining the best states to incorporate in. The less you pay in taxes, the more your business can keep for running costs and profits, right? There are 3 types of taxes to consider. You have state income taxes, corporation taxes, and franchise taxes. State income taxes affect businesses in S corporation structure because the owners pay taxes based on their distributive share of ownership through their personal income taxes. Corporation taxes are levied on C Corp, so LLCs might not be affected by either types of taxes because it is a pass-through entity. And franchise taxes are for the privilege of operating and existing within a state that recognizes these types of taxes. So Nevada, Wyoming, and South Dakota all rank high for the best tax laws because they do not have state income tax or corporate taxes. This is really cool. Think about it. However, keep in mind that this only works for businesses that operate within those states. While you might incorporate there, if you operate your business in another state, you will still be subject to that state's tax laws. On the other hand, the District of Columbia has some of the highest personal and corporate income taxes in the country. New Jersey, California, Minnesota, and Rhode Island are not far behind. Okay. Now, the main difference, and this is an important element to really mention here, the main difference between franchise tax and income tax is that franchise tax is not based on money earned by the business. Depending on the state, it might be based on the business's net worth, gross receipts, or even margins. There are also generally minimum tax owed regardless of the factors your state uses in calculations. So your business could possibly lose money, but you will still owe a hefty franchise tax. Currently, there are about 15 to 18 states that still have franchise tax laws on the books, including New York, Mississippi, you have Georgia. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about the top states where C Corps have saved the most on expenses. Let me talk to you about the states with the best legal system. So if you're interested in really finding out where your corporation fares better legally, here is the info that you need to keep in mind. So the best legal system, you have Delaware. I mean, Delaware is known across the country, so that's not really a big surprise here. You have Maine and you have Connecticut. Now, states with the worst, of course, worst quote unquote, with the worst legal system, you have Illinois, Louisiana, and California. And the legal environment in the state can affect business owners as well as individuals. Delaware, for example, is known for having the best business laws in the country. The state has a court of chancery, which hears corporate case laws instead of a jury of citizens. This is unique to Delaware. Okay, you'll be dealing with a court that is only handling business matters instead of having for your case to be seen on a general docket. You will also be in courtrooms with judges who are well versed in business law and procedures. This is really cool. So since Delaware has become known for its corporate friendly nature, it has become one of the most desirable states to incorporate in. In fact, the Delaware Division of Corporations claims to be a home to 66% of the country's Fortune 500 companies. This is kind of cool. Now, Delaware, Maine, and Connecticut are the three best states for legal climate, while Illinois, Louisiana, and California are the worst, according to our research and also a report from the Chamber of Commerce Institute for a Legal Reform. Now, I'm not saying that if you're incorporated in Illinois, Louisiana, or California, you are worse off. It just means that if you were to have, let's say, a problem that will require you to enter the judicial system, things might not be as smooth as they would be if you were, say, in Delaware or Maine or Connecticut, for instance. I want to talk to you about the incorporation basics. It's important to understand that when we talk about C corporation, right, we will also need to pay attention to the incorporation basics because, as I've said on this show and other shows, having a company is a state affair. It's not a federal thing; it's a state affair. And so, incorporation laws are state level legislation, which means that each state can make its own laws about the requirements, fees, and tax responsibilities for businesses incorporated within that state. So your experience will vary depending on the state you choose to incorporate in. The one thing I need to say is that you don't have to incorporate your business in the state you live in or work in. The state you incorporate in is completely up to you. If your business only does business in its home state, think in terms of a brick and mortar store with only face-to-face business, a restaurant, or a landscaping company with a service area only located in one state. It's generally best to register in that state. But in some cases, it might be worth it to register in another state, especially for online businesses or those that do business in more than one state. Now, incorporating your business creates basically what I said before, right? You have a separate business entity from you or your partners. In other words, you are really preserving your personal assets should something were to happen. Because that's the whole thing, right? When you get in business, you want to preserve you want to cover your back, so to speak. Even though there are costs associated with incorporating outside of your home states, if the other factors are favorable to your business, you might make out better in the end, okay? So how do you choose which state to incorporate in? Well, you got to think about a lot of things, because when we talk about you incorporating in one state versus another, this decision can have long-term effects on the success of your business. So it's really important to at least consider certain factors when making the decision on where to incorporate. But ultimately, the best state to incorporate in our view, depends on where your priorities lie, right? what are your priorities right now? Because if you're courting investors or considering your legal options, the legal structure is the most important factor. Or maybe you're forming an S corporation, and so personal income taxes will make a huge difference in your yearly expenses. Are you worried about the potential cost associated with yearly obligations of filing in a certain state? Then the annual reports and filing fees will be your priority. It really depends on what you're going after, right? So no matter what perspective might be, no matter what your perspective might be, I want you to do your due diligence on the state you are considering for your corporation. The first place to check is the state's individual Secretary of State websites for your rights and responsibilities under current legislation. You will find answers to frequently asked questions and contact information for getting more in-depth answers. And as always, it's a great idea to get the advice of a legal representative who can give you professional advice and guide you in making the right decisions for your business. So the thing here is that when we talk about the top states where C corporations save the most money on expenses, the cheapest states to incorporate in is basically Kentucky. Okay, Kentucky actually $40 if you want to incorporate an LLC. Kentucky is really what it is. For corporations, the following states have the lowest fees. You have Arkansas, Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, New Mexico, and Tennessee. And so if you're looking for, let's say, for states with low fees and tax rates, Ohio is one of the best. LLCs, corporations, and nonprofit organizations can file formation papers for $99. Okay, annual reports are not required, and the state's tax rate for corporations is 0.26%. Think about it. The tax rate is 0.26%. However, the state's legal environment is in the bottom half of the rankings. So that's one of those things you got to really pay attention to, because Delaware has the best legal environment for businesses. So when we talk about corporations in general, you need to understand, basically when you hear the term C corporations, we are talking about corporations. So C corporations and corporations, those two terms are interchangeable. S corporation is another, because it's another offshoot of a C corporation. But I'm not going to go into that right now. But it's really important to understand that you have a lot of possibilities if you have a C corporation, including, for instance, you actually can do a lot of things to sort of improve your situation. And one thing I want to say here is that when we talk about C corporations in general, the most important element is for you to find out what really matters to you. So, for instance, you want to look at the pass through. That's very important. You want to also pay attention to your individual versus business corporation, because remember, when you have a C corporation, you have double taxation, right? So you're paying taxes at the company level, but also at the business level. Company level, but also at the personal level. So that's double taxation, something you don't have with partnership or LLC or sole proprietorship. So, but the thing is, with a C corporation, you can attract investors more quickly. I'll talk about the tax benefits of C corporations in the next section. So let's talk about that. So when we talk about the tax, because see, a lot of people believe that when you have a C corporation, you are at a loss by default from a fiscal perspective. That's not always true, because a lot of folks just believe that the double taxation is the only criterion to pay attention to when you form a C corporation. That's not true, because when you have a C corporation, you are able to minimize your overall tax burden. Okay, because now we have a new corporate tax rate of 21%, which could really help you. And so if business owners only take a salary, then that amount is not taxed at the corporate rate, shifting the tax equation further in their favor. You're able to carry profits and losses forward and backward, and this is really good. So whereas the fiscal year must coincide with the calendar year for LLCs and S corporations, C corporations enjoy more flexibility in determining their fiscal year. So consequently, shareholders can shift income more easily, deciding what year to pay taxes on bonuses and when to take losses, which can substantially reduce tax bills. You are able to collect funds for future expansion at a lower cost. So this is basically you have like an equity coming into the business. You can write off salaries and bonuses. It's really good. Remember that shareholders of C corporations can actually serve as salaried employees. So while these salaries and bonuses fall subject to payroll taxes and Social Security and Medicare contributions, the corporation can fully deduct its share of payroll taxes. In other words, it can write off those expenses. And you are able to deduct 100% of medical premiums and other fringe benefits. You can write off charitable contributions. You can carry losses over multiple years. Okay. You can enjoy fewer ownership restrictions than S corporations. I mean, if you're familiar with the S corporations, you know that there are a lot of restrictions. For instance, you cannot actually invite in an investor who is not a citizen or a legal, like a green card holder. So that could be a problem because, money is flowing from everywhere. But money is not just limited to U.S. citizens, right? But so that's one thing. See, if you're a C corporation, not a problem. You don't have that restriction. You don't have to be limited to the 100 shareholders that an S corporation is actually imposing on you. You are able to also encourage passive investors if you have a C corporation, and you also can open up unique financing opportunities that can really help you really move your business further. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just sharing with you the top states where C corporations save the most money on expenses. So we actually analyzed a few things. So the best states for formation fees, the best states for annual filing fees, the best states for corporate taxes, and the states with the best legal systems. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.